Alrighty, welcome to another episode of Big Brain MMA Podcast, episode 22. Me and Mr. Scrapper here. Just ran a bit late, but that's alright. We're on time now. Just a quick overview. The best bet competition is still running. Mr. David Z, he got barnet by KO. He was very vocal that no one should be laying juice on Collier. I think that was directed at some of us, but that's all right. Can you, if you are listening to this podcast, just hit me up somewhere, man, because I'm trying to pay you. So yeah, good job on that hit. Barnet by KO was great odds. But other than that, let's get into it, man. I'll start off first. Nicholas Motta, Cameron Van Camp. I can understand where people are coming from. Well, let me just turn this music down. Rubbish elevator music. I can understand where people are coming from hitting Van Camp. And obviously, a bit of money's coming on him now as well. Just a bigger guy, massive dude, 6'2", dropping down from welterweight. Motta's always been a bit flaky to me. He's been knocked out like 4 times. Getting essentially cleanly knocked out by Miller is a bit of a red flag to me as well. I think it's a dog or pass. I think more often than not, Motta does knock him out because Van Camp is very stiff and rigid, and his defense is a bit at bang on average. Watching that Volkov fight and watching a lot of his fights, he does seem kind of durable. But yeah, it's more so how hittable he is and how his head is always there to be hit. I don't think Fiala putting him out cold with one punch says much. Fiala's been doing that to a lot of people. If the chin is there, anyone can put you out. But I just think I wouldn't have Motta as this much of a favorite with all these flaky tendencies. He's got first layer takedown defense. If you consistently try to take him down, and he will defend it, but he kind of slows down. He kind of gasses. He likes a slow-paced fight where he can throw bombs in the pocket when he feels like it, blitz in. He backs up a lot, and he's also hittable himself in the pocket, which is why I think Camp could be a good play here. I don't know if I would hit it personally. It's a bit too volatile for me, but it's an easy dog or pass for me. Also, I don't know how Van Camp's chin is going to hold up dropping down to lightweight in who knows how long. But I also like the under here. It just hasn't opened up. I assume it's going to be. I heard it was not that bad, maybe $1.60. If that's the case, when it opens up, I would potentially hit that. Only problem is Motta's a bit patient, and when he hurts someone, he doesn't always swarm in. But yeah, that's the only way I'm looking at it. Wait for the props to open up. The under's probably the safest option. Money's coming in on Van Camp now, so I can't really hit him now. You got any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with some of the things you're saying, but personally for me, I think it's Motta or pass. Van Camp for me, just nowhere near UFC level. There are concerns with being like how big he is, and he seems like a fairly physical guy, like cutting the weight, but just looking like at his social media and stuff and just like his training situation, I'm not sure he's going to be like cutting this weight like the best way. And yeah, man, that defense is horrible. He kind of hangs that chin out on a platter. It seems like a pretty good matchup where Motta can kind of initiate those pocket exchanges, fire the 2-3-2, and I think that left hook's gonna find a home. I agree. I think Motta's like a bit flaky. I don't like his optics and his reactions to getting hit very much. He backs up and like flinches, and you can tell he is visibly uncomfortable when he gets hit. Happened a few times in the Lowry fight, but he would kind of circle off, take a reset, and then come back in again and land some more good shots. I think Lowry's a much better fighter than Van Camp, so I think at some stage, like maybe in his next fight again, Motta is probably a fade because he is pretty one-dimensional. But here, for me, this matchup, since I don't think Van Camp's getting takedowns because his wrestling's terrible, I think, unless he's got a puncher's chance for sure. Big guy, probably hits fairly hard, and Motta's doesn't take a shot the best, but man, I think Motta's finding the chin here. So better than -200. I like Motta.
Yeah, you might get it. A lot of money's coming in, but just for me, I just can't. I can't. Even on regionals, when I was taping him for Jim Miller, he always comes underweight, so he's not even a speak lightweight. And just what I've seen from Cameron in his debut, he was a lot more active and stood his ground and countered Fiala, rocked him a bit. It's just a pass fight for me at these odds. Let's move on. All right, we got Gravely Basharat. This is a popular one. The odds are going all over the place. I'll take charge again if you don't mind. Uh, I think Basharat should be the favorite. One of my regrets is being talked out of laying juice on him against Trevin. I think Trevin was just the perfect matchup for him. The only thing he had was a puncher's chance, and you know it is a very big chance for him. We've seen him knock out two good fighters in the UFC with that. Just the optics and the volume. Javid is just like his brother. We just seen on Contender. Very very good volume, very good cardio. I just rate him as a very well-rounded fighter. Good jiu-jitsu, good front headlock series. Now there's not much tape on his grappling, and there wasn't for Trevin either, which is why I had to just look through little snippets of every single fight on his regionals. Yes, a lot of it is low level, but you kind of see what you need to see. I mean, he can only fight who gets put in front of him. From what I've seen, is he does use it. He won't sell out for the guillotine. He does use it to sweep and stand up. So I think there's not much of a concern for him to fight like Oliveira in his last one and constantly just flop to his back with 20,000 guillotines, even when he's gassed. So I think, and I also like the way he circles out, digs underhooks, and because his distance management is so good and he constantly feints, he's always ready for the takedown. He's not overextending. He's jabbing, he's leg kicking, he's just poking at you. Whereas, for example, other people that overextend, Gravely is very explosive. He gets under him and lands an explosive double. Gravely's control is also bad. It's always been bad. That Oliveira guy just can go for a guillotine, end up on bottom, and just stand up whenever he feels like it for 3 rounds continuously. And he's purely a jiu-jitsu guy. I just think Basharat should be the favorite. Just I like his kind of fighting and his brothers. It's perfect minute winning styles over 3 rounds, and he seems durable. He had a few bombs from Trevin, but his hands were low, but he rolls with the punches. Like if he can see things coming, he's always going to handle it well. But Gravely does hit very very hard. The guy's just a little powerhouse. Good striking, good takedowns. Broke Meneses' jaw and put out Munoz out with one uppercut. So it's a bit risky playing the juice here. On Basharat, even though I think his favorite, maybe if the line gets a bit closer. But what I like is I potentially like Basharat by submission. I know Gravely stopped 70,000 guillotine attempts, but he was about to tap against Bochniak. He's been submitted before. If he's going to keep putting his neck in positions like that, I think Basharat can potentially get one, but later on in round 3 after maybe doing some damage, he usually goes for him when he puts a beating on people and when they're shooting a bad takedown. So anything over $5, plus 600, I think we might get a good submission line. That's a good sprinkle for me personally. What about yourself?
Yeah, man, I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. I like Basharat here. I was pretty excited when I saw that line start moving, but now it's kind of bounced back and going the other way again. Didn't get quite to where I wanted it, just given the lack of tape on his defensive grappling. First layer looks good, but chances are Gravely's going to test him past that. So, really need a bit of a better price if I'm gonna play him here. But I do think he deserves to be the favorite, just given the stylistic matchup. He's going to touch Tony a lot. Tony's super hittable. He gets wobbled a bit. I don't really think he's chinny. I think it's more that he just doesn't have great defense, so he just gets hit flush a lot. He takes hard shots. The only thing we've seen from Javid, he defended one double leg from Trevin pretty nicely, like cross-faced into the inside and broke the hands. But I mean, Tony's so much better than Trevin when it comes to the wrestling department. So it's you're flying blind a bit in that regard. Like stand up, I'm sure Javid's going to win. It's like, can Gravely control him enough, basically, or finish him on the mat? I think finish on the mat's pretty unlikely. Like you said, his control is very loose. He lets everyone get up, which is why he has to hit so many takedowns every fight, because everyone's just able to get up. So I think Javid will be able to get up if he gets taken down, but we haven't seen him deal with a lot of the positions that Tony can put him in, like those rear body locks and all that sort of stuff. So, and riding legs and stuff up against the cage. Training at Extreme Couture, he had Jake Shields in his corner last time, making some assumptions. I think his grappling is going to be pretty serviceable, but now the line's back out at -170. I don't see a whole lot of value there. I think he's live to finish. Like, Javid could win anyway. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a decision, if he knocks him out, if he finds a sub, because Tony loves sticking his head like in dangerous positions. And Javid's got good front chokes. And I think, yeah, he land the head strikes. He goes to the body well. He goes to the calf kick. So I think he can accumulate a fair bit of damage on the feet, given Tony's lack of defense. So yeah, just I can see this one going a bunch of different ways. I could see it ending pretty much any way, probably except Tony by submission is probably the only thing that I don't think is very likely. Tony by knockout hits hard. Like, I'd be surprised, but the dude really, really hits. So you never know. But yeah, I've got no action at the moment. Not interested in the total. Like, it's going to be volatile. But yeah, I'd kind of need Basharat. Ideally, like minus 120, 130 to play, and the minus 150 was getting there, but just not quite enough. So at this stage, no action unless we get some reasonable line movement.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. I do agree about his defense. It's horrendous. I could just see him getting lined up for a knockout against Maness. Just so wide and looping, like no concern for his defense whatsoever.
We'll see. Top Sport might open as no scorecards at a better price than Bet Online. It's shocking at Bet Online, but I could be interested at a better price if we get it.
Yeah, makes sense. Maybe me as well. Let's address this comment. Tattoo and Dream, my number one fan. We're hitting Basharat decision like we did against Giles.
Jones, I think he means. Yeah. Trevin, wrong Trevin.
That's all right. I don't know because I mean if Jones survived, I'm sure Grevely can survive, but I'm just.
Yeah, man. Grevely's going to be sticking in his head in bad places. The guy with good front chokes, and just how hittable he is. For me, yeah.
I really like Basharat, how he cooks his opponents. Like when he gets on top, he just turns on the ground and pound, just like his brother. Just round 2 and 3, maybe when Grevely's gassed, and he's just ground and pounding him, and yeah.
Yeah, he'll push for the finish, and I mean, I can see anywhere from plus 200 to plus 300. Around like plus 300, maybe that'd get a play out of me, but I don't know, man. Like, Tony does a lot of things conducive. He's very much like a kill or be killed kind of guy, even though he has gone to a fair few decisions.
Yep, we're on the same page. I'll look out for that submission prop. But let's move on. I'll do this one again, so I'll do 3 for 3, and I'll let you take over. Gillian Robertson versus Agapoa. I was looking at that pick-em line for a while, thinking, without tape, surely this is insane value. One weakness versus a girl that constantly goes to that aspect of the game. And I just didn't play it because the line wasn't moving. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm wrong. And then as the week came along, then it got steamed hard. And then I just kind of panic taped it just so it wouldn't get even more steamed. And I was kind of like, yeah, it can look minus 200, honestly, because I remember trying to fade Gillian multiple times, but I've also made a lot of money on Gillian. The thing with her is the line looks wide, and then she gets a takedown, and then she looks like a massive favorite against a lot of opponents. Her jits is so good, but her wrestling and getting there is bad. So you're just kind of sweating, but she keeps going for it, and once she gets it, they're just really good at amazing passing, just passes instantly or just pushes for the pass. I mean, Sarah Frota, the world champion jiu-jitsu fighter, she just smoked her, ran through her. But to be honest, that girl had no takedown defense. Even when she came up with a bit of resistance against Botello, who's got insane takedown defense and balance, like she's on one foot and she will stand back up, she just eventually got the takedown and just tied her out. Round 2 and round 3 was much easier. So she's just relentless, and it's kind of hard to, play Agapoa as a dog when yes, she might be doing good, she might be sticking and moving, but then with that one takedown, she might just flake out. And I went all the way back and I taped her Cortez fight, and she kind of put up a better fight than she did in some of her UFC fights. But I consistently gave up her back, and just instantly, first her get-ups is just give you back up. And Cortez would backpack her for a bit, couldn't finish her. And then I'm like, okay, that was 3 years ago. Fast forward, obviously massive stunt against Dobson. I just put that off as she just fought like an absolute moron. Watched the Mazzo fight. Constantly getting backed up and clinched, and Mazzo has it wasn't even a setup. Mazzo would just kind of waltz into the clinch and clinch her up, and I was like, wow, that wasn't. She gives the illusion that she's circling out and she has good footwork, but she doesn't really. She loads up with the massive long punches, and then all you need to do is just duck under those punches and you'll get in on the hips. And thankfully, Mazo is absolutely horrendous. And she couldn't do anything other than hold her against the cage for a bit. And then, but right after that second fight, same. She said she trained hard. She said she had a conditioning correct and a lot of ground game, and she hated Moroz, and she took it seriously. She didn't party, and instantly backed up against the cage. She put up a bit of a resistance. She's physical, and then once she got taken down, Moroz looked like a minus 500 man. It was like she looked like Khabib against Agapova, and she's instantly huffing and puffing. And I was like, man, I was waiting for a live bet, but I kind of regret it not hitting Moroz as a dog there because it was just instant value right off the bat. And then she got out and she got Moroz's back, but that was the only success she had. Instantly round 2 takedown, and she just kind of quit. She gave the arm triangle and just flaked out again. So I'm not seeing any improvement, honestly. She's saying she's training a lot of wrestling again, but it's like, I think even at minus 70, sorry, not minus 70, $1.70 odds on Jillian, it's just, you might sweat it for 1 round, you might sweat it for 2 rounds, but she gets 1 takedown, Agapova is just going to give her a back straight away. And we're seeing Robertson losing, and you give her a back, and she put Molly McCann out. She jumped on Cachoeiro's back as she was standing up. She's just very slick with that. So you got like 3 rounds of backpacking or giving your back to get the sub, which now that I talk about it reminds me of that Gunnar Nelson loss. He also had 3 rounds of backpacking, old mate. But he's just, I'm a bit nervous about it. Robertson at juice, but I feel like this is one of those fights where she will get a takedown, kind of like Courtney Casey. It reminds me of the Courtney Casey fight. Courtney Casey was lighting her up on the feet, and she actually hits hard, and I was like, oh no. But as soon as the takedown defense was so bad, as soon as she got the takedown, I was like, why did I pass on this fight? It was so hindsight obvious at Pick'em. I feel like this is the same. I'm not going to be scared. I'm just going to put a unit on it. And the only thing I don't like is recently Robertson's striking's improved a bit, and she wants to test it a bit more, which I don't like. She's abandoned the go for takedowns constantly. She didn't go for 1 takedown against Maverick in the whole first round, and then she got taken down herself and lost. She went for a takedown round 2 and absolutely dominated, had her back, kept riding her out. And then against JJ, she went for 1 or 2 and just kind of seemed discouraged and just wanted to strike for the rest of the fight. So it was kind of a different game plan from Robertson, maybe because she's improving her stand-up, which I don't like. I would like to go back to the shoot ASAP. Other than that, I think the Robertson submission should be plus money. I like that. Just with all the backs, giving up of the back, the Agapova's, I think you will hindsight look massive value. And I'm liking the under, maybe just the finish. The under is $1.66, which is quite insane. I could potentially cap that at 70%. But if the under is $1.66, I might just play the finish, fight to ending finish, because we've seen some really late finishes from Jillian, which is minus 200. I capped that at 80%. 3 rounds for Jillian to get cracked, maybe get her own back taken, knocked out, or for her just to tie her out and run through Agapova with ground and pound or a submission. I talked a lot about it, but I feel like this could be a good fight for her.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you said. So I'm on Jillian moneyline. Got in early, luckily. Got a plus 115 and it evens, and then I got some of the under 2.5 at minus 105. So yeah, happy with both of those. Agapova just complete fade for me. If she basically can fight 2 ways, she can go spaz and blow her wad, right? And then her window is like a few minutes to find a KO. And, she hits a bit, but at the end of the day, there's still, 125-pound woman. I think the Macy Barber loss is one of those, I've never seen one loss held against a fighter so much. People just love to obsess over that one loss. For Jillian, meanwhile, Macy's like a bull in the clinch and has really, really good takedown defense and great cardio. So, that's just a nightmare matchup for Robertson. So I think we're getting a bit of value on here just because, she does have some holes, right? But I just don't think Agapova can, find a knockout or dance around to a decision at the clip that these odds imply. I think it's pretty likely if Agapova tries to do a technical outfighting routine, she's putting her own back on the cage where she's likely going to get grappled and even if she doesn't get taken down eventually, like she'll gas, right? And then if she goes full spaz, then she's going to go swinging into the clinch with those big, ugly looping shots, and Jillian's probably going to be able to find takedown entries that way. So, yeah, I mean, I've got no interest in backing Agapova at like small plus money when her window is very small to me. And yeah, I don't trust that she's making improvements at all. She seems like, I'm not trying to be mean, but she just seems like dumb. Like she seems very stupid. Like she's got some mental issues. I don't trust that she's really making any improvements between fights. I don't trust that she's like training hard in the gym. So yeah, happy to back Jillian here. I think she's the clear side even at these current odds on the money line. So you know, you could take a bit of Agapova KO or round one or whatever you want if you want to hedge off. But I'm not, to be honest. I think this is a really good fight for Jillian.
Yep, yeah, this could be back to her previous fights where it was one takedown and she looked massive favorite. We agree. Before we move on, I really like Robertson round 2, round 3 for like a tiny sprinkle when Toppy releases that. I might give that a crack. All right, I'll let you take this one over. Trey Ogden, Daniel Zellhuber, just because I haven't taped it. This is one of a couple of fights I haven't taped. All I know is Trey's horrendous. I taped him hard because someone tried to make me play him against, what's his name? Old Mate Twerker. And I'm so glad I didn't, but I wasted way too much time taping that fight twice to see what they were seeing. And I tried to fade Daniel Zellhuber as a massive favorite on Contender against Almeida, and it just impressed me a lot. Coming back from losing that first round, eating some bombs. Obviously, he has a crazy chin. Yeah, I'll let you take over, man.
Yeah, so yeah, agree. Ogden's a bad fighter. I got him like early on his money line against Levitt, got him as an underdog, and yeah, extremely frustrating loss. Although I think he probably deserved the decision, but he just made that fight so much harder than it needed to be. Zellhuber, yeah, pretty impressed by his fight versus Almeida. Both guys fighting pretty low-level guys on the regionals, and then Almeida's by far the best guy that either of them's fought. You know, I think that Almeida fight round 1 a bit concerning, but like that's just the first time he'd fought a decent guy who could come in and really put it on him, and you could see that was just kind of the first time in his career he's experienced that. So it just took him around to kind of get his bearings, and then you know I was impressed. He was tough, took the shots, and then didn't get flustered, didn't freak out and lose his cool. Just came back in. Found his rhythm and then won rounds 2 and 3 and looked pretty good doing it. Ogden doesn't look comfortable trading in the pocket. He was getting backed up on the feet by Jordan Levitt. He kind of just wants to kick on the outside until he can like dive in and get a takedown, like pretty standard like James Krause kind of fighter. He's got bad cardio. He's got bad suspect submission defense. He's been guillotined a bunch of times and submitted. So for me, I think he's drawn pretty dead here. He probably needs to get Zellhuber down and finish him somehow early, because I don't think he can hold the pace on the feet. He might be able to take Zellhuber down early just because he's probably going to just be a bit of a bigger frame and that, but his wrestling doesn't look very good to me. And from what I've seen out of Zellhuber, he looks pretty serviceable. And you got to assume that a young guy like that's probably improving fight to fight, and it's been a little while since we've seen him now. So yeah, man, I don't see many ways that Trey Ogden gets this done. Moneyline kind of reflects that. For me, I put together like a Zellhuber 2-3 decision at like -120, -122 or something like that. So I like to play it that way because I don't think Zellhuber's just going in there and like completely dusting the guy within a round. Ogden's good enough that he'll survive, but I think a late finish or otherwise decision win is likely how this sort of plays out for Zellhuber. He's just a much better striker at all ranges. Ogden's gassy. Wrestling isn't very good, so I don't think he's getting takedowns consistently enough to win 2 rounds here. And yeah, pretty straightforward read for me.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it again just to see his takedown defense. But like I said, I was 14 fights. I wanted to get this podcast out. I don't think I'm losing anything by not taping this till later on. Let's move on. All right, Loma Lookmukbi. This is the second one that I haven't really taped. I know Luma quite well. I've looked into so many of her fights. Dennis Gomez, I just taped the deep recently for her Contender Series fight. Yeah, the line is a bit crazy. Yes, Gomez looked a bit trash in that Contender Series fight. They gave her a really bad opponent, and she kind of made a meal out of it, throwing about 35 spinning wheel kicks unset up in a row. Obviously try to make a splash, but just the fact that she's still the bigger girl than Loma and has power. She's got a few knockouts and she's constant pressure. She seems tough, gritty, one of those underdogs that's going to fight for your money. And power goes a long way in women's MMA. I just can't hit Loma as a massive favorite here. But I don't really have too many reads. A lot of money's coming in on Gomez, so they might agree she might be a potential dog. Have you got anything? Any solid thoughts?
Nothing super solid. I got a little bit of Gomez decision, just kind of what I do for these like women's fights. When I think that the line's a bit wide, I'll play the underdog by decision. Especially when I expect it to be a striking match. Loma, she is what she is, right? She's good at what she does, that Thai style, but it's not great at like winning rounds by big margins because it's all just like teeps and single kicks to the body and the legs and stuff like that. Her boxing's not very good. So I think Gomez could have some success here if she's able to get into the boxing range and then just back Loma up in the pocket, just throwing some hands, putting some volume on her that way. Loma's pretty small as well. I don't expect Gomez to be able to take Loma down, though. She's very good in the clinch. Her takedown defense is very good. Working with the guys at Bang Tao, like her wrestling's probably just going to keep improving fight to fight. Loma might hit some trips, dumps on Gomez. Maybe she'll get on top of her for a little bit, to be honest. If I think if anyone's getting on top, it's probably Loma, just because they're women. They're inevitably going to end up in the clinch. It just happens. And, Loma's takes girls to school in the clinch. Girls can't really hang with her there unless they're some, high-level wrestler, which is pretty hard to come across in that division. Can't play Loma minus 200 or worse. That's not appealing to me. So I just took a little bit of Gomez by decision. If it hits, bonus. I think she can make it fairly scrappy if she can get the hands going. She seems willing to push forward, tough, get in the pocket a little bit. Loma's cleaner and more technical, but if Gomez can spend enough time in her preferred range, then I think she can make this competitive. So happy to have a little stab.
Yeah, I could see myself hitting that. Why not? I think Loma's pretty durable. I haven't seen her really hurt by anyone. So, when I tape it, I'll keep an eye out for that decision prop. All right, even better fight. Aspen Ladd, Sarah McMahon. I'll take over again on this one. How can you trust Aspen Ladd as a favorite against anyone? She's obviously learned nothing. That Rocky Pennington fight, no takedowns up until second or third round. Easily won round 3 on all judges' scorecards. I don't know what she was thinking in the first 2 rounds. Just no minus IQ. Especially when she's probably going to be on her back ASAP against Sarah McMahon in the first round, and then you've laid the money on the favorite there. This seems like a typical play Sarah as a dog pre-bet and then live bet Ladd later on. I actually did that against Pena, and I got scared off by some of the boys in Discord to play her against Rosa when she was even a bigger underdog. And I just on tape, I just wasn't impressed by Rosa, and her get-ups didn't seem to be good, and I just passed on that. But even then, she's going to get maybe round 1 and 2. You look at her losses, she's losing to Caitlin Vieira, she's losing to Pena. These girls were so aggressive and in her face. And even then, she had Pena's back in round 2 and round 1. The only thing I'm scared of is it can be a bit volatile. Like if she does go for Aspen's back, and she ends up, and Aspen reverses and gets on top. What's her name? Sajara Eubanks. She did the same, picked her up, slammed her, got her back, and then Ladd turned around and got on her back. And it's like, if that happens with Sarah McMahon, that's when the flakiness is going to come in, when she's getting her back taken and getting made to work. But I can easily see her getting round 1, and her control in round 1 is insane. She's got very heavy shoulder pressure. She just sits in half guard, doesn't throw many punches. She just wants to consolidate the round. If you're a brave man, you can just play Sarah McMahon pre and hope that round 1 goes according to plan, and then you're going to get quite decent live odds to just, hedge yourself on Ladd. Because unlike Rosa, Ladd actually does have a good round 3. She comes out super rabies, and she will look for the takedown. Her wrestling's pretty average. That's the other thing. And recently she's been getting on top. Like she got on Norma Dumont and she was just sitting in guard, didn't really do anything. She's going to need to pass and actually put Sarah in some trouble if she's going to finish her. Norma Dumont got on top of her as well, and she kind of swept her. So there's another risk there that maybe she can sweep Sarah McMahon. But I think Sarah McMahon's pressure early. She's so strong, even at 43 years of age. That's never going to go away. She's she's very careful. She doesn't overexert on strikes. She just waits for that takedown. And Aspen Ladd, she walks like a penguin. Like, she's always ready to be taken down. Yeah, he's just pre-fight. You got to hit at McMahon. Like, I think she's about 96% to win round 1, unless something very volatile happens, or Ladd maybe remembers how to fight again. But yeah, Dogger pass for me pretty bad, and maybe I can look to hedge out. But I could even if you don't hedge out, I could easily see Sarah McMahon getting rounds 1 and 2 and not getting finished in the third, and just scraping by. What are your thoughts?
Yep. Yeah, I agree largely with the dynamic. For me, though, I just can't get behind McMahon. The price is not good enough. She closed like plus 220 versus Rosa, and now I'm only getting like around evens, slightly better than evens. So for me, it's just not good enough. I know what you said. No, I think she probably does win round 1, but it's just the Ladd side makes it so volatile. She might turn up like she has in her last couple and just like look completely disinterested in fighting until the last round. But McMahon's potential just to like end up in a bad position and go from 100 to 0 in an instant, and you just got no way to live bet out of it, just means I can't do it. I would need better than plus 150 to at least start thinking about it. At her age, I expect her cardio to be kind of probably looking a bit worse every time she fights as well. She's more skilled by far everywhere. But yeah, I just don't know what Aspen Ladd's bringing to the table. Is she going to try and do her weird low tempo kickboxing, or is she actually going to, go full Banshee like she used to? Pretty easy fight for me to pass on pre-fight. I'll just wait for a live bet, probably on the Ladd side. You're probably not looking to live bet McMahon because she's likely going to do pretty well early, and I'm not interested in getting him, even if she's like, wins a round or so. I don't need to bet it. I'm fine passing. But yeah, I'd like maybe she loses and then Ladd wakes up and does her thing where she comes on hard later in the fight. Pre-fight, if you want to look at betting, Ladd 2-3, Ladd round 3, that kind of stuff. Cool, go for it. Like, I understand. But yeah, I just can't trust anything Aspen Ladd does anymore. So easy pass for me.
Yeah, I completely understand. Like I said, you got to be brave to hit McMahon. The Rosa line was much better and a much better matchup as well. But let's move on. We are on the same page again. All right, next fight. Your favorite fighter, Trevin Giles versus Louis Cosce. I'll take over this one just because I absolutely hate Giles and I love fading him. Personally, I can't fault anyone having a little crack on Louis, man. Louis round 1. I always thought Giles was durable, but now we've seen him knocked out by 2 people that they've put up against him just to kind of elevate themselves. Moraes and Duplessis, and also he was dropped by Zach Cummings before he got guillotined with a clean punch. I mean, he's just an idiot. Like, he's got so many advantages. He's light on his feet. He's calm in there. He pops the jab. He sees things coming, but it's just at some point he loses concentration and he does something stupid and he just gets caught. If you see, every time he got caught against Zach Cummings, he just exploded in there, and Zach countered him against Duplessis. He was lighting him up with the jab and the much faster hands, and then he just blitzed in, and as he was backing out, his hands just all the way down by his waist, and just Duplessis just countered him and put him out cold. And then with Moraes, he just, when he got countered there, I don't even know what he was doing there. He just started randomly sprinting, flating his arms, and he just got countered on the back foot. Yeah, so it's like minus 200, forget it. Even against someone like Louis Cosce, I could never play Giles, especially when he's live, to do something stupid and get knocked out. Louis, I think is definitely the better brother. I was upon retaping him again, I'm quite impressed, man. This guy's a juggernaut. Like, I know he's quite one-dimensional. He's got one aspect of fighting, but he's just, when he lets those hands go, he's just juicy, powerful, explosive, fast. He seems very accurate as well. He keeps finding the head. Even with the ground and pound, just a savage, man. Absolute savage. No wonder he has like 190% finish in round 1, other than Palatnikov. Even that was, every time I watch that fight, that ground and pound is absolutely brutal. I'm surprised Chris Taioni let that go on. He usually jumps in there straight away as soon as someone wilts a bit. He stops it. But yeah, he was kicking the shit out of Palatnikov as well, and then just gassed. I liked his cardio later on in the fight, pushing through. Like, his brother seems a lot worse. His brother doesn't even have the explosiveness that he does. his brother's just average everywhere, whereas Koske at least has this one aspect and he seems to have better cardio and better heart. Yeah, it's hard to back him outside of round one, especially because I think if Giles comes in there and he's taking it seriously, he might be hard to hit with his speed advantage. But it's just, again, another volatile fight. It's also hard to know, will Luis come in and do the same thing? Sometimes you see these round one fighters after their debut, and when things don't go their way, they change up their style a bit. He might be more conservative and save his cardio for a bit. I think the under 2.5 at $1.66 is still, same as the Gillian fight. Bit of value there. One guy is just an absolute finishing machine, and Giles hits hard as well. He's rocked multiple people. He's got insane ground and pound. He's hurt, the Lidze. I think the under 1.5 is in a bit of jeopardy only thanks to Giles because he's so stupid when he hurts people, looks to grapple, etc., etc. But the 2.5, I think, covers if Koske sparks him, or you got Trevin Giles if it goes long and he's peppering him with jabs and Koske gets a bit tired, or he ends up on the bottom and Giles can ground and pound him. I think that covers that as well. But fight to end in finish is better than -200. So if you think it could be one of those last minute gassed finishes, that's an option as well. So personally, I don't know if I like it, but Luis Koske round one, I think that might be quite high because people think Giles is better than that to be called by that. And then the unders, I kind of like the under 2.5 or fight doesn't go decision. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's another fight that I'm passing. I mean, maybe I'll get tempted on the Kosi side if Giles keeps getting bet. If Kosi gets to +200, probably have to get involved a little bit. But yeah, obviously Trevin Giles' side is out of the question. The guy's a moron. Like you said, you can trust him to fight completely suboptimally and find ways to lose fights that he should win easily. Kosi, just haven't seen enough. He's still super green. That Palatnikov fight was the first one where he can't really go out there and dust a guy in a round, and you saw he just doesn't have the pacing and the IQ later in the fight. I mean, he still got it done, but man, Palatnikov's very, very bad. He lost to that actual absolute bum on XFC, his first fight after he got released. So I mean, good that he pushed through, right? He's obviously a tough kid, but I'm not looking to give him too much credit, to be honest. But that being said, it's a clear dog off pass fight. I'm not looking to bet any unders at juice because if Giles gets his fight, he might just be able to jab him and sort of keep him at bay. Yeah, it's an easy pass for me. Maybe some kind of live bet scenario pops up, but yeah, Giles is a guy I'd never consider laying that juice on. Kosi, if it gets to the right price pre-fight, maybe I'll get involved. But yeah, just super green, quite shallow game, just that classic team alpha male, bricked up wrestler swing overhands type of game, which I'm not a big fan of. It could be enough to give Giles issues, but at the same time, he might just get sparked because he's very hittable and doesn't have much defense. Could also see him maybe overcorrect. We see that a lot of times after fighters get extended for the first time, they overcorrect, go back the other way, and then maybe he stands there and gives Giles a low tempo striking match, which obviously I don't think would go too well for him. He kind of needs to steer into the volatility here, I think. So yeah, pass for me at this stage.
Yeah, I agree. Deep down, I think he's a bit of a meathead, and that's the only way he's going to fight, which I think he should fight like that. I'll just quickly address his comments. Yeah, got Koske around 850. I think that's insane because when he came in against Palatnikov, it was $2.50. It was barely plus money. So it's kind of an overcorrection. So I wouldn't mind hitting that for a small little stake. Nothing, just for fun. Steve V, I heard some dickhead tipped 11 units on Jake the Jobber Collier last week. Yeah, that was definitely all over Twitter. That's why you don't pay money to touts for those excellent bets. It's a great nickname. Giles is now training full time. Giles has been training for a few camps, man. It's not going to fix his stupid brain. He's also dropped down to welterweight, and yeah, don't fall for Giles doing shit to make himself a better fighter because it's ingrained in his brain.
He rocks guys and then tries to take them down.
Yeah, that's whether he's a police officer or a garbage man, he's going to fight the same way. All right, I'll do the next two. Damon Jackson, Pat Sabatini. I think this is wide. It's a dog or pass for me personally. I have been trying to fade Pat for a few fights now. I mean, I've made money on him, but I've also tried to fade him. I don't think his wrestling's that good. I think he can be hurt. I don't think his striking's the best. I think the only reason he looks so dominant on the ground is because he keeps shooting over and over again, and then eventually just tires people out and he breaks him down with his, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu control. He's quite tight on top. He's relentless. He can slow down himself. He got hurt by Emmers. He slowed down bad against Connolly. Yes, that was his debut, so cut him some slack. But I've seen him huffing and puffing in his other UFC fights. He couldn't take down TJ Laramie all of round one. He got taken down himself. That was a massive red flag. He's lucky he hurt him to the body there, which is, I think that was a bit meme. I've never seen Pat Sabatini throw a front kick to the solar plexus like that to anyone on regionals. He's lost grappling fights before. He lost to Jose Mariscal. Like, he can be taken down. He's really good off his back. He looks for legs, heel hooks. He's very dangerous. But I think, if TJ Laramie and Tristan Connolly can take him down, no doubt the Leech can take him down. He's relentless. He's a lot more dangerous with his strikes. He's got a really nice 1-2. He's aggressive. He's a bit chinny, but I don't think Pat's going to take advantage of that here. His last fight against Aguero was a bit of a red flag, and he seemed his cardio wasn't up to par like usual. But I saw a lot of people hammering him against Aguero. I think Aguero is a very underrated fighter. I thought he was going to be. Everyone was saying he's short notice and undersized, but he's missed weight at bantamweight. So I think Aguero is a very good fighter. He's strong. He's physical. Hot take, but I think he's a better wrestler than Pat Sabatini. I just think if you're going to have a grappling fight and a scramble fight against, Damon Jackson, I don't think he should be minus 200 favorite. I think Jackson can hang with him. He's a very good back taker, good submission artist. He's an underrated fighter, man. 21-4. He's fought some good fighters in the regionals. He's got power, cardio. He's just. I need to tape in. I need to go deeper. But yeah, he's pretty much. Sabatini showed me in every single UFC fight that he's got some holes, but no one's just been able to expose them properly. And obviously, Jackson's got some holes as well, but he's not a minus 200 favorite. So that's my take, man. I'm going to definitely look at some deeper tape after this, but at the moment it's a dog or pass for me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty interesting fight. Should be fun. They're going to grapple. I like both guys. Early Damon Jackson bidders probably pretty sharp. Getting those early lines up around the near the plus 200 mark. I'm not really sure how I feel about this fight. At this point, I wouldn't be interested too much in entering on Jackson around the plus 150 because I do think he's probably going to get out grappled early. I think if they tie up, it's Pat ending up on top more often than not. His cage wrestling is really, really nice. He chains together, all kinds of different takedowns together really nicely on the fence, especially his foot sweeps. Damon, he's not a very good anti-grappler. He kind of can't help but engage in the clinch and grappling and stuff. So I don't think he's going to be able to just stay at range and outstrike Pat. I think they're going to clinch. They're going to tie up. While they're fresh, I would favor Pat to be able to sort of maintain top control. Even though Damon's good off the bottom, we saw in the Bektic fight, he just keeps throwing stuff up. But man, Pat's sharp. I think when they're fresh, Pat's getting on top, and Pat's probably getting the control time. But Damon's got cardio for days, and he can certainly come into the fight at any point, especially if Pat starts to slow down. In those later rounds, Pat's cardio hasn't always looked bulletproof. Damon's the better striker. Damon's got more UFC experience against high-level guys. So for me, I think Pat does bank round one at a decent clip. That being said, price is still not good enough for me to get behind him. I'd probably be more interested in looking to live bet Jackson if I can see Pat starting to slow a bit, or maybe Damon's able to hang with him and defend the takedowns. They both got good jiu-jitsu, but I think even if Damon ends up on top of Pat while Pat's fresh, I expect him to be able to create scrambles and end up on top. He's very, very good at his grappling, and he's improved since those past fights that he's lost. I think I've been super impressed with what I've seen from the guy. He knows how to use leg locks to reverse positions and find finishes. Damon's really good. I think Pat's just a little bit better. So yeah, I'll fish for a Damon live bet. Pat around the minus 180 range is probably about right. That's probably where I cap it pre-fight, just because I think he's going to have the success early, and then Damon's probably more likely to come into the fight later on. So yeah, fun fight. I won't be mad if I just like don't bet this one at all and just watch it for fun. To be honest, should be good.
Yeah, it's a very good fight, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'll go in some deeper, see how much value's there. What do we got for comments? Collier for 11 units. Wasn't that James Krause? Could be, man. I'm actually not following James Krause's picks. Tattoo and Dreams. Sabatini is the same as Brady, both about to hit their ceiling. Yes, I agree. I actually thought Chiesa was going to beat him. Might be a fade just around the corner, but I won't tape that Bilal fight until it comes along. We'll see. Next fight, first fight of the main card. I'll take this one and then I'll let you go next. Anthony Hernandez, Marc-Andre Barriault. I honestly think this line is relatively accurate, potentially. I see a lot of people on Marc-Andre. I started taping it and then I can't, I've never been a fan of Andre's style. Yes, I played him a lot. I played him against Dalcha. I played him against the bad Albazi brother. Not Albazi, sorry. Abu Azaita. Yeah. But even then, he left so much to be desired. Like, I expected him to run through Dalcha. I expected him to finish him. And I'm surprised that he got a unanimous there. He was just waiting into the pocket and eating bombs, and he couldn't land anything himself. He plods forward, hittable in the pocket, and someone like Chitty was always going to do that to him. Yes, he's durable, but if you're going to keep, plotting there, wanting to eat shots on your dome, like, you're going to get sparked. Didn't really see how he recovered from that. Just came in against Wright and just got an early finish. Got taken down twice by Wright, of all people, the Beverly Hills Ninja. I just can't back him. I think a lot of the time his game is good when people can't handle the pressure, when they're chinny, when he can break him down. I don't think Hernandez is any of those things other than being less physical than him. You can see that's one of his weaknesses, and being weak to the body. He did a few bad mistakes against Friend and ended up on bottom, but it's just the cardio and he's relentless. He kind of got pieced up by Park as well. But on the other side, he broke Park. On the other side, Mark was just getting wrestled left by Park. I just can't hit Barriault because I don't see how he wins this. I don't know what, maybe holding him against the cage, landing some dirty bombs. I was passing on this fight, and then on top it opened up, and I really like submission or decision, double chance for Hernandez, and I am getting, I'll tell you now, I think it's Pick'em. $1.85. Hernandez submission or decision, right? He does hit quite hard. He's got underrated power, but I don't think he's going to knock out Barriault, especially because I think it's going to be a attritional knockout. And he just loves that guillotine, man. He won't stop going for it. He maybe attempted it 17 times against Friend. So I think he wins a hard-fought decision here. I was passing because I also think he's a bit too much of a favorite. I don't think Anthony Hernandez should be that much of a favorite against anyone, especially because I think this goes long. But yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by that decision or submission. I almost pick him odds. And I think you can kind of hedge out live on Barriault because Barriault doesn't really do much at all early. He just waits for his opponents to slow down and then he turns it on. But yeah, that's me. I kind of like that decision or submission on Hernandez. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I initially bet Barriault and then I went and taped properly and I just bowed out of it earlier today. I don't see any reason to pre-bet him now. Once I've had a better look, I think he's losing round one at a pretty good clip because he's just going to be defending takedowns. Like, Fluffy's just relentless. Like, he's going to just come forward, get in the pocket, he's going to shoot. And Barriault doesn't really have the defensive footwork or elusiveness to not be there to be shot on. He can be taken down. We've seen him taken down a fair bit in the UFC. His get-ups are good though, to be fair. He works up pretty well. But you see he ends up in that front headlocker position a lot when he gets up, and that's Fluffy's specialty. So whether he can, defend the front chokes there, who knows? He's not fought someone like Fluffy who's a real specialist at those kind of attacks. So it'll be interesting to see. In terms of his path, it'll be close, because Fluffy's always trying to fight in close range. So Barriault's going to have the chance to clinch him up and work on the inside where he does good work. But I'm just not sure he's going to be able to get enough done in between having to defend takedowns and probably having to get up. Fluffy, agree. It's a bit hard to get enthusiastic about him at this money line price because he's just just the way he fights, right? He's super volatile. He can be hit a lot. Sometimes he puts himself in bad positions. Sometimes he looks like he's gassing out, but more often than not he pulls through. He has shown to be like a bit vulnerable to the body, which could be a bit of a worry because like Barrier will, beat the body up in close in the clinch. But is that going to be enough to negate everything that Fluffy's doing in terms of shooting the takedowns and the top control and the submission attempts and all that sort of stuff? Probably not. I think the money line's close enough to ride it where it is. I like that double chance prop you mentioned. I don't see Fluffy really knocking out Barrio aside from the Chitty KO. He's been pretty durable, and we know about just those early knockouts when dudes get caught cold behind the ear. Fluffy doesn't have too much of a ground and pound game, doesn't carry too much, like he throws hard on the feet, but he's not much of a natural hitter, and he's only really looking to put strikes together so he can duck in on the takedown, So yeah, I like that. I think that's a good way to play it, especially since I expect Fluffy to win the first round at a pretty good clip, comes out hard, shoots a lot of takedowns straight off the bat. So yeah, agree with most of what you said. I think that double chance is a nice way to play it. And then you can, if you do start getting a bit sweaty, you can probably hedge off at a pretty good price on Barrier.
Yeah, I like it. I like it myself. I found out just before we went live, so I'm happy with that. All right. Tanner Boser, old mate Nascimento. I see a lot of people on Nascimento. I can see the argument, right? Boser looking horrible against Latifi and on the bottom, and he has lost fights on the regional in M1 against Russians and Magomedovs and whatnot, but he hasn't been finished much other than a 8-second knockout by Tim Hague, rest in peace. Which we know if that was as fluky as it gets. I've seen that fight, just caught him straight away and shit happens. Other than that, very durable. I do get it. Nascimento does seem very good on top. If anyone is going to finish him, he'd probably be someone like Nas, rather than a wet blanket like Latifi. But the thing is, he can get up. He got up against OSP. He did get up the first time in round 1 against Latifi as well. He dug, he got out of side control. And just in round 3, he got really, really tired and he couldn't do anything. But yeah, I can't get behind Nascimento just because he seems very lumbering. He's a very slow starter. Couldn't get much going off against Dontel Mays early. He tried to counter Dorcas, and you can see it in slow motion. He got cracked with the left foot before his own counter even left his his area of his throwing. He was so slow. He saw it and he wanted to counter, but he was just too slow. Alan Baudot was piecing him up to bits. Couldn't take him down. Even pulled him on top of him in mount. It's just like these little flaky tendencies that he has, and it's going to be rough early when Boser is going to be having the speed advantage, which is Nascimento's weakness. I actually do think he has serviceable striking. When he let his hands go and he started to take over against Baudot, there were quite nice hands and there were fast combinations for a heavyweight. And I think he's getting better as well. He's only 30 years old, or 29, I think. So I think he's improving. He had a nice head kick against Dontel Mays that he cracked him with. It's quite it's quite nimble, but he's a slow starter and he's quite slow. It's hard to explain, but I just think Boser's not going to slow down, and he's always, if things get a bit south, he can just leg kick and run away, and he's going to force Nascimento to plot after him and try to cut him off, and I don't think he's going to potentially get the takedown as easy because his wrestling's not the greatest. But yeah, I'm too scared to play Nascimento just because he's going to be such at a speed and power and athleticism advantage early, but also, do I want to lay the juice on Boser? If you're going to play it, I think you probably play Boser by KO. I think it's just a matter of time. I know he's never been to round 3, Nascimento, but when he came out in round 2 against Baudot, he seemed to be fine with cardio. He was fresh, even though he took a beating and had a bit of a uphill battle. So I don't know. I can't say that he's going to fall apart after round 2. Whereas I do know Boser does have good cardio, so yeah, it's a bit of a tough fight for me. I think it's potentially favourite or pass.
Yeah, understand a lot of what you're saying. Nascimento's tape is not very impressive. Like his striking defense is pretty much non-existent. He doesn't seem to see shots very well at all. And then again, like his takedowns are really bad as well. Like he doesn't seem to have like an understanding of like underhooks and stuff, even in the Baldo fight, which is pretty concerning, you know. His takedowns look better in the Mays fight, which is weird. Like they seem to regress from the Mays fight to the Baldo fight. So not sure what that's all about. But that being said, I have got like a small bet on him at plus 160. For me, just his willingness to come forward and like throw volume, it might get him finished, right? He might just get chinned and knocked out. But at the same time, that's the way you beat Tanner Boser, right? You go forward, you put pressure on him, you make him go backwards. You don't let him have his like preferred range where he can just jab, leg kick, wingers over hands and stuff. You got to consistently push this guy back. And I think Nascimento is pretty reliable to do that. Boser's takedown defense at the first layer is okay, but we can see like when he gets clinched up, like Latifi and OSP were both able to like hit him with those like clinch takedowns and the trips and stuff. So I think Nascimento might be able to do it. And like Boser's so bad on bottom that Nascimento could win this fight with 1 or 2 takedowns. For me, that's just the angle, you know, assuming Nascimento can go to the grappling and make some stuff happen. If he can't get it going, I won't be surprised, right? Because his takedowns I was not super impressed with what I saw on tape. Boser might just spark him. But yeah, that's it really. I mean, it's heavyweight. Heavyweights have bad get-ups in general, and Boser's especially a turtle. And then going back and watching that OSP fight, way less impressive than I remembered. OSP was just shot to bits in that fight. I think like the guy barely turned up. Like he looked like he was there to cash a check to me. And then just going back and watching that Latifi fight, like Latifi was actually landing some counters as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Nascimento can like land on him a little bit because he's willing to throw, even if he's defensively void and doesn't see the shots as well. He'll still fire and he'll throw, right? And old man Latifi was landing some counters on Boser, right? And then if he manages to tie up with him, you know, it's heavyweight. I could see him just ugly, sloppy takedown, dragging him down to the mat. If people want to play Boser, now the line's coming in, same. I get it, right? If you think Boser's going to be able to stay away and just keep it standing and crack him on the feet, I understand it, right? Like I'm not super convicted. I understand the arguments on both sides, but for me, I just took a bit of the grappling upside for a small bet, plus 160.
Yeah, can't hate it, man. Like it could be as bad as his wrestling is. I think what you said about his wrestling looking good against Mays and then not looking good in the other fights, I think he's just the typical people with bad wrestling, like Lad, for example. It's sometimes hot, it's sometimes cold, right? They can't get anything going, and then all of a sudden they get a reactive double, like a blast double, and it's just they don't even know what they're going to go for next. You know, against Mays, he kept muscling him down, but Badeau is actually quite strong, so he couldn't quite strong and athletic early, so he couldn't really muscle him down. I don't know if he's going to muscle down Boser, but this kind of reminds me of the Chiasson Aldana fight. You know, Aldana looks very good with the takedown defense, and Chiasson looks average, but then in the normal demand fight, all of a sudden she's doing random double legs in the middle of the octagon, and she actually got 2 on Aldana as well. So it's like it's where value comes in again. You know, you're playing value on Nascimento, and who knows, he probably does get a takedown. We don't know how, but he might get one. You know, and then you got the good ticket there, and yeah, with all his weaknesses, Nascimento does look lethal on the ground, man. So he just finishes 90% of people that he takes down like ASAP. So quite nimble for a heavyweight. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just scared, man. I'm scared with how slow he starts in round 1. But yeah, let's move on. All right, Alan Amedovski, Joseph Pfeiffer. So I'm gonna try and make this one and only fight that we can just slam through without talking too much about it. Obviously a setup fight for Pfeiffer. I was going to play the juice on the under 1.5 at minus 200. I think he can get takedowns whenever he wants. He's very athletic, explosive. He slammed Stolfitz. He slammed Ozzy Diaz and got his back instantly. He's from that same Philly Gracie camp. He's going to have no trouble taking Amedovski down. I hammered the under in last Amedovski fight. He just doesn't seem to be, even though he's hittable and he can get finished, he doesn't seem to learn, and he just kind of knows that his only chance is to blitz people. He might come in aggressive here against Pfeiffer as well. Pfeiffer can knock him out as well. The only way he goes over, I feel like it's if Pfeiffer takes him down, and then he just ends up sitting on him for a bit, going to mount, going to side control. But he's always landing ground and pound. He's finishing guys by KO on the ground, and when they give the back up, he submits him. So I was going to lay the juice minus 200 under 1.5, but then Top Sports ends round 1 and 2 at minus 200. So I think if this fight goes to round 3, I'm going to be super shocked. Just the way both guys fight. Even if Amedovski decides to run away and extend his UFC time by a couple extra minutes before he retires, I think Pfeiffer's going to pressure him instead. So yeah, I got 2 units on the fight once it start round 3. Even though I hate props, I think this is over-unders. I think this is a no-brainer. And I actually like not Ozzy Diaz, sorry. I like Pfeiffer by submission. You can get it at plus 700 on some books. I think when you look at his record, it doesn't have many subs, but honestly, I mean, he's going for him all the time. He's always getting people's backs. If someone like Ozzy Diaz, who does grappling competitions, he was good at defending it. Alan Amedovski, once he got hurt by Joseph Holmes, that was the most amateurish rear naked choke I've ever seen in my life. He wasn't even in and he was tapping. There was no hooks, there was no nothing. So I think it's a no-brainer. The KO is juiced, and Amedovski's path to victory is a round 1 KO too, so the under 1.5 covers it as well. So I finish round 1 or 2 and a little bit of Pfeiffer sub. What do you got?
Yep. Yeah, same read. I mean, there's not too much to say about this fight. Amedovski's like one of the worst to ever do it. we got someone else's burner in the chat. Yeah, Amedovski, one of the worst to ever do it. He's terrible. He's going to go out there and headhunt for a round, punch his chances always. But yeah, like Pfeiffer's probably got him outgunned on the feet and power, and he's got huge grappling upside there if he wants it as well. He's a big, strong, bricked up dude. Hits very hard. Amedovski's a small middleweight who's a bit fragile and can't grapple. So yeah, seems like a pretty blatant layup. Obviously, Dana loved Pfeiffer on the Contender Series. He was that one guy who got the finish or whatever on that card. So it looks like they're doing him a favor here with this matchup. So yeah, I mean, unders, yeah, it doesn't start round 3. And obviously in terms of method of finish, the value's on Pfeiffer by sub.
Yep. Easy, let's move on. I'll let you take this one over because I don't have much of a read. Andre Fili, Bill Algier, you got anything here?
Yeah, so I got in on Fili relatively early. Got a minus 105. Closely aligned fight, and I understand why. For me, I just think Fili's a little bit better everywhere. Like they're both decent grapplers. For me, I like Fili striking a little bit more. He throws a bit cleaner, a bit straighter down the pipe, and he's probably got a bit more pop as well. In terms of the grappling, there's a bit of physicality edge for Fili. I think Bill's just a bit noodly. Like if they tie up, I think it's Fili probably taking Bill down, but then Bill was tricky, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one getting taken down, but he's able to find reversals and sweeps and that sort of thing. So I wouldn't want Fili to be, with money on him, to be entertaining big long grappling exchanges, because Bill's sticky, and he's kind of good at making awkward scrambles and stuff where he can find them. But I don't think Bill's just at the first layer going and blasting Fili off his feet or anything like that. So, given those advantages, and then, I think Fili's probably a little bit more physical, and I like his cardio a bit more. Bill tends to get pretty winded by the 3rd round, and he's doing all his budget Dominic Cruz shit that is pretty janky, and I don't think it's very effective. So, yeah, for me, basically even money, I like Fili. I could get, I make him 55, maybe even 60%, I just think it's a bit of a tricky matchup for Bill. He relies on kind of being able to be a bit crafty, out volume guys, and then kill time in the clinch. So yeah, I like Fili. I have no issues making him a small favorite. I also took some of the goes the distance at minus 190 on Bet Online. I think this is going the distance 70%. Both guys have been pretty durable, although Fili got finished last time out. Brito's a huge hitter. Algio's not really a hitter, maybe if he runs headfirst into a knee or something like that, I could see it happening. And then I don't think either guy is submitting each other really at a good clip either. They're both pretty decent grapplers. So I'd say this isn't finishing more than 3 out of 10 times. So yeah, I like that. It goes the distance. And for me, I think Fili's the side on the money line.
Yeah, if I could find a good go to distance, I'll play that for sure. I think Algio couldn't bust a grape, and And yeah, I think Feely should be the favorite. He's got, like you said, better pop. He hits harder. I love his 1-2. He's actually got knockouts in the UFC. He's got good wrestling. And Algio's got bad takedown defense. He made Ramos look like Khabib. I thought he lost that Brito fight. I'm still cut about that. I thought Brito just out physicaled him and just dominated him on the ground in first, and then was just absolutely piecing him up in the third round because he just fights with his hands low. Also doesn't check kicks. Just Feely's better everywhere, man. Feely's better everywhere, so he should be the favorite. It's just I need to dig deep to see how much of a favorite and if there's any value there, or if I want to, lay the juice, considering how hot and cold Feely can be sometimes. The Brito fight was nothing new. He's been hittable a lot. He's been dropped by Jourdain, and his chin is always there to be hit. That's the only problem. But I just don't see Algio doing anything big enough to steal rounds. I don't think he's going to crack his head like someone like Sadiq Youssef or Brito, for example. He's always been hittable. And, Bryce Mitchell took him down and reversed him and whatnot. I can only imagine what Bryce Mitchell would do to Bill Algio, man. I think he might actually potentially twist the rim. I'm going on a limb and saying that. I mean, he was in a triangle 2 seconds in against Burns, so it's only a matter of time before you get submitted doing that stuff. I favor Feely. Got a distance, probably the best player, but I have to fish around, find some good ones. I don't want to play too much juice. All right. Chidi Njokuani, Gregory Rodriguez. I know that we're on the opposite side here. I'll go first. Actually, let's address this comment because it is a bit funny. Steve V, I wonder whose burner account this is. Need you both address the Jamie Chason finish last week, especially you, Scrap, you clown. Probably one of your mates. Honestly, me and Scrap were talking.
No idea. His name's Steve. I thought it was your burner.
Nah, I can multitask, but not like that. We were talking about how she's not trustworthy, and then as you were like, she's dominating, and then round 2 started, and you're like, I'll take it back. And then I had some chasey decision, and then as round 2 ended, I'm like, I don't trust it, and I live bet it, so I got profit either way. And then you started celebrating. I'm like, did she get submitted? And then it's an up kick, a heel
that she drilled, man. It wasn't a fluke. She said she drills that a lot, Yeah,
I bet she does. Her time will come, dude. Her time will come. What was I going to say? I'm actually starting to believe Man of Library, man, with the result like that. Like, what the hell was that, dude? She didn't. The way she dropped like a sack of potatoes. She wasn't even.
Man, that's just women getting hit in the liver, man. They can't handle it. Like girls, they can be tough to the head, man, but they're generally pretty soft to the body.
She was like shaking, convulsing. She wasn't moving. She looked like she got shot in the head with a sniper, like Kennedy, dude. It's crazy.
She trains it, man.
That's MMA for you. I had peanuts on it. I was just playing for fun, a little bit of decision and then hedging. I won like $90, but I just thought that was such MMA. I would have loved to be on Aldana Big and to win that. That would have been a massive adrenaline rush.
Woo!
Take the time at the start of every podcast to run through last week's highlights. Yeah, if people want to see that, I usually skip it on other podcasts, but if people want to see that, this last week would have been funny because a lot of stupid shit happened. So could have been a good segue. Address a lot of the crazy stuff that happened, like Tony Ferguson. Jesus, man, what was wrong with that? That spinning elbow there, and him not throwing it. Set up, Man of Library. You're on point, mate. I knew you were onto something. Let's move on to this fight. Chidi Njokuani, Gregory Rodriguez. I love Robocop, man. I've made money on him, and I've made money fading him. Faded him against that other striker, Armin Petrosian. Just what it comes down to, he wants to strike. He wanted to strike there. When he went down and took him down and got his back, he looked a big favorite, but he can't really control anyone. He jumped on Marquez's back. He fell straight back off. He had Iron Turtle's back. He fell straight back off. For a really high-level black belt, he doesn't seem to have the best control, or he just doesn't want it. It's strange. It's a consistent thing, even on his regionals. He gets it, controls people, and then they stand up. Maybe he's just scared of gassing, and he doesn't want to blow his legs out. Maybe, rear naked choke is not really his best finishing maneuver. Some people are like that. I wanted to lay the juice on him against Marquez. I taped him deep. I thought this guy's very, very good, but I just passed. Kind of regretted it. But yeah, he can compete with Chidi here. The problem is if you are going to have a striking battle against someone like Chitty, who wants that fight, and he can hit as hard, if not harder than you, and he's actually got more tools. He's got the teep. He switches stances. He can fight backwards. He can counter you when you rush in. He doesn't have the chin that Chitty does. Yes, Chitty's been knocked out by ground and pound by the Russian dude in Bellator, and that did look like he kind of quit. But I mean, I'm gonna take his word for it and say that he's kind of taking his career more seriously. He took some bumps from Sousa, who was a contender, but he can hit hard. He does seem kind of hard to hold down. He's a black belt now. I know he's always had a weakness in that aspect, but I can see improvements. When he ended up on the back against Todorovic, he didn't even get taken down. He just jumped for a choke, which just shows me that he's quite confident in that aspect and he wants to test it out. He's confident enough to test it in the UFC and confident enough that he can stand back up against someone like Dushko. Hopefully he's not going to do that here because that's a low IQ move. But yeah, I just think I got half a unit on him as a slight underdog. I think it's a no-brainer. You know, I've seen plenty of instances that Rodriguez will give him a striking battle, even though he has a massive jiu-jitsu advantage. And that, yes, he might have quite good power and a decent one too, which is why I only have one unit. It's not a lock per se. But I mean, Chitty can knock out anyone, man. Just knocking out Barrios with one shot. I think is one of the first guys that has longer reach than Rodriguez, 5 inches or 4. So he's just, I'm leaning with him. I think Rodriguez wins a close striking battle where he kind of lands a few bigger shots and mixes up some takedowns. But whenever Chitty gets up, it makes him work. Lands those, he can land an elbow. He lands the knees to tire him out. Like I said, not the greatest read, but I'm fading Gregory's chin and his IQ here. And yeah, I think Chitty's come into his own recently. So yeah, half a unit on Chitty here as a slight dog. What about you?
Yeah, so I'm on the other side, right? But again, it's one of those fights where I understand the arguments on both sides. Obviously, RoboCop, like good offensive striking, but the defense is sometimes a bit porous and he gets hit. Very good grappler when he goes to it, but does have a tendency to like lose positions, getting a bit hungry, trying to jump the back. But for me, like at a pick'em, and now that Rodriguez has gone to a bit of a dog, I just have to play the grappling upside. For me, we haven't seen anyone who can like really test Chitty's grappling since those like Bellator fights, which were obviously really, really bad looks. I'm sure he has improved since then. But you know, I think RoboCop has the potential to look a massive favorite if he grapples here. So for me, that I'm just playing that like potential value, that upside. I've had a pretty good run betting him as well. You know, I bet him against like Dusko, Park, Marquez, and then bet Petrosian against him as well. So I feel like I have a reasonable read on him. I'm fully aware of the risks here, though. You know, like if Chitty just goes and sparks him, I wouldn't be surprised. I am kind of relying on him to be able to grapple here because although like his boxing is very good, Chitty's probably a bit more durable, a bit longer. So yeah, you're wanting to RoboCop to grapple here if you bet on him. Even though he slows down from grappling, I think if he does grapple, Chitty's going to be worse off. For me, I don't trust Chitty's cardio either, especially if he has to defensively grapple for like any decent period of time. Robo might gas, but I think Chitty's probably going to gas as well. And for me, like those tendencies you see in those old fights, like I still think those are still there somewhat. Like he's definitely improved, but I think if Robo's on top of him, working him, I think we might start to see him wilt a little bit as well. But yeah, like if anyone's playing Chitty, like I get it, you know, like the dude's very dangerous on the feet. He starts hot, like RoboCop's more than likely going to have a couple sweaty moments, you know. Chitty's probably going to be able to touch him, so I totally get it. Personally, if I was looking at the Chitty side, I'd probably rather play him by KO at like you can get like plus 220 sort of thing out there. Like for me, that's a little bit more appealing because he's most likely going to finish him, right? I'm not sure what like a Chitty decision really looks like, to be honest, unless you're counting on RoboCop like not really grappling and Chitty like hurting him multiple times or something and not finishing. So I kind of like that angle a little bit more. RoboCop submission is not bad as well, around the plus 500. I'm just going to do a bit of line shopping for that sub prop and see what I can end up getting. But yeah, I kind of prefer the RoboCop side personally. Like it's just my style of betting. I tend to bet on grappling upside if it's there.
Yeah, I can understand that aspect if we actually seen Gregory that wanting to grapple people, but Yeah, I wouldn't. I hear people say that all the time. Even the Armin fight, Armin gives his back up and he's easy to take down, and he still couldn't win with his grappling. So you say like, how's he going to win a decision? Oh, he's just going to outstrike him. Like he throws kicks, he throws teeps, really big body kicks. We're seeing against Armin, just Gregory, he's fine eating kicks. He literally lost that decision by eating kicks and Armin circling away. And we've seen that if you actually do use grappling, you can look like a massive favorite against Armin, like the last Brazilian from Contender, Kaya Borraia. So he's just, I get it. Like I'm nervous about it, but it's just I can't see how Gregory wins unless he submits him. Like if he just gets his back, I'm relatively confident that Chitty's going to get up and then he's going to be at his range again. But yeah, only half a unit. I know some people that are a lot more confident, but yeah, let's move on. All right, what do we got here? Chitty showed improved get up against Dushko. A lot of people thought Dushko would finish if he got on top. Yeah, I thought that too, man. I don't know, a lot of people shit on Dushko, but he's actually got really good top game. You know, when he gets on top, his passing, his relentless ground and pound usually finishes people. But yeah, it was no danger. It's just I do think he's personally improved a bit, but I'm not counting that he won't be in those positions. Ooh, this is a pretty stupid name. Barat Dilbaz. Hey, do you think Mighty Mouse could beat John Jones in a fight? 100%, man. 100% calf kicks. All right. Main event. Corey Sandhagen. I'll take this one. I see a lot of people on Song. I can get it. It's probably wide. Song, I don't want to say he's coming into his own. I think he's always been decent, but there was something missing. He can stay. He's a bit green with his striking. He just relies a lot on his speed and explosiveness and power. You know, he's beat people like Casey Kenny, who do have a lot of output by just being a little bit more technical and having a bit more harder shots. But even then, it's a very close fight. He slowed down in round 3. You know, he got thoroughly out game planned against people like Carla Phillips. He did have a good round 3, but Carla Phillips also gasses. I just think, you know, that Julio Arce KO was a bit strange to me. You know, Arce usually durable. I think he can crack anyone. He's 24. He's probably hitting harder. He's growing into his body still. But I just think, I can't. Someone like Corey Sandhagen that's so elusive early and is constantly going to keep touching. I think even if Song does get a few rounds, they're going to be close. And then as it goes to round 5, yeah, I just can't. I don't blame anyone hitting it, but to me, I don't have enough an edge on Song. I think he's going to have to be even more patient and more technical to have a chance in a 5-rounder. You know, kind of like what Ty did against Gane, waited for his shot because he had 5 rounds to land it. But it's just, yeah, Corey's durable. He's not going to slow down compared to his other opponents. He's going to constantly touch him with leg kicks, teeps. So yeah, he's just dog or pass for me. I understand, but I'm passing. The overs are juiced. I might look at some Corey 4-5 decision or over 2.5 even. I mean, I'm not going to assume the Song is going to survive 5 rounds of constantly getting touched up by Sandhagen. You know, he's got head kicks. He works the body. You know, this could be a levels fight, or people could be right, and you know, Song might be getting better. But at the moment, I don't have anything. I lean Corey, but you know, I do love my dogs in the main event. You know me. You know, Emmett and Vieira and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, this one, I can't really do it here. Do you have anything that you like?
Yeah, I got a little bit of Song plus 170. Nothing big, small play. Pretty like common dynamic that we see. You know, it's going to be Corey's like consistent volume versus can Song find the moments or maybe the finish to win the fight, right? I think early Song's going to be able to compete in terms of winning rounds just because he's super quick and explosive, and I think he's going to be able to touch Corey early on. You know, Corey's good, but just as a product of his style, right? If you're there just landing that much volume, you're there to be hit, a bit like Rob Font. So I expect Song to be able to compete early on, and then it kind of just comes down to does he have like the 5-round game planning and the cardio to compete down the stretch? Personally, I think probably not. I'm looking to get out of this live and you know, just ab it. I think there's a good chance Song competes pretty well through the first 2 rounds. But after that, I would, probably likely favor Corey to just to take over with his 5-round experience, his cardio, consistent volume. He works the body. He might be able to just flummox Song a bit, you know, as he starts to kind of like build his offense. I think Song's pretty sharp, but yeah, just a few questions and quite a big step up here for him in terms of level of competition. But it's just the way I'm playing the fight. I think he competes early, so I'm just looking to bet Corey at a better price than pre-fight and just ride ride that live bet. Yeah, so should be a fun fight. Yeah, Corey 4-5 decision. If you want to bet him pre-fight, yep, that's likely the way to do it. I think there's some like $90s floating around out there for that prop. So that's a good way to play Corey. But for me, I'll just wait to live bet it the other way because, you know, even though he's durable, he does get hit a lot, and we have seen him hurt against Yan and some other guys. So Chin's random, you know. I don't want to bet on him being able to take Song shots because the dude cracks freaking hard, man. So yeah, should be a fun fight. I favor Corey down the stretch, but I'll just look to flip off that position and hopefully ride some free money and enjoy the fight.
Yeah, I thought about that, but I just thought, nah, you know, in case that Corey does have a good round one with the leg kicks and the volume like he did against Peter Yan, for example, he's just might lose it straight away. So I'll look at some other options, maybe live bet. But yeah, I can understand usually I would be on your side. I just didn't feel it with this fight. All right, so I've got like 7%. So let's quickly do your favorite bets and then we'll get out of here. You got your favorite bet for this?
Yeah, I will probably say, even though I got a better line, I'm probably just going to say Jillian.
Yeah, that's a nice one. You got anything as a number 2?
Could look pretty silly, but Motta for me, like I just think it's levels. Like, sure, Van Camp might hurt him, but you know, like other guys have landed on him, like Lowry, Dirty Ford in the Contender Series and stuff like that. And like, yeah, it doesn't look great, but he doesn't just curl up in a ball and go away. He still will take a reset, come back in swinging. And you know, Van Camp plus 158. I think he should be way past plus 200 personally. Like the guy's legitimately terrible. Like so yeah, Motta. Otherwise, like if you can get a good like under 2.5 line there, or a nice Motta KO price, like those are good ways to play it as well.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's not for me, but yeah, I agree. Potentially, for me, I like this juice that I just laid on just 5 for fight round 1 and 2. I mean, it's minus 200, but I don't see this fight getting out of the second half of round 1 more often than not. And then my second is I really like this Hernandez at Pick'em submission or decision. Again, it's a bit risky. You know, it's a double chance, but his only KO other than the regional KO is Beverly Hills Ninja. You know, and is he going to do that to old mate? No, I don't think so. Song KO decision, double chance, maybe better than his money line. 100% will, man. If you go on Top Sport or Bet365 has the best double chances, I might do that and ride the wave like old mate scrap. Look to live bet. But other than that, man, let's call it a day. You got anything to add or?
No, all good.
Well, anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully we'll make some more cashola and see you next week.